Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving deep today into the world of Bitcoin mining.
Oh, yeah,
You've probably heard the term, right?
for sure.
But maybe you're thinking like pickaxes, hard hats. What does that have to do with Bitcoin? Well, we're going to break it all down. By the end of this deep dive,
Yeah.
you'll have a really solid understanding of why mining is like the engine that keeps Bitcoin running.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. It's a fascinating process. I mean, it really is the heart of what makes Bitcoin secure, decentralized, and, just so revolutionary.
So let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
Let's imagine just for a second that you're brand new to blockchain.
Okay.
What exactly is Bitcoin mining, and why should anyone care?
Well, at its core, Bitcoin mining, is all about maintaining the integrity of the Bitcoin network. Think of it like this. There's this massive digital ledger called the blockchain. It records every single Bitcoin transaction, ever made. And miners are like the guardians of this ledger. They verify those transactions, and they ensure that nobody's double spending their Bitcoin, and then bundle those transactions into blocks. These blocks get added to the blockchain, and then it creates like a permanent and tamper-proof record.
Okay, so it's like they're like digital accountants, right?
Yeah.
Making sure everything adds up, nobody's cheating the system.
Yeah, exactly.
But I thought mining was also about like creating new Bitcoin. Where does that fit in?
Absolutely right. As a reward for all of their hard work, miners receive brand new Bitcoin
Oh, okay.
when they successfully add a block to the blockchain. And this is how new Bitcoin enters into circulation. It's a pretty ingenious system.
It is. So it's not just about like keeping the books balanced, it's also the mechanism for generating new Bitcoin. But how does this whole process actually work? What are the steps involved?
So imagine this global competition. Okay, so you have all these miners, and they're racing to solve a complex puzzle. We'll call it a cryptographic puzzle. And the first one to crack the code gets to add the next block to the blockchain and claims the Bitcoin reward.
Sounds intense. What do these puzzles actually involve? How do they even begin to solve them?
Well, the puzzles are generated by the Bitcoin network itself.
Yep.
And they're incredibly complex. Miners use very powerful computers to try trillions of combinations. They're looking for the specific solution that meets the network's criteria.
Wow.
And we call this solution a hash. And it's essentially a unique fingerprint for that particular block of transactions.
A hash. Okay. Break that down for me. Why is this hash so important, and how does finding it help secure the Bitcoin network?
Okay, so a hash, it's a fixed length string of characters, and it represents a much larger piece of data.
Okay.
Even a tiny change to that original data will result in a totally different hash.
Yeah.
And this makes it really, really difficult, like incredibly difficult, to tamper with the blockchain, because any alteration would immediately be apparent. So by finding the correct hash for a block of transactions, miners are essentially proving that the data hasn't been tampered with.
So it's like a digital seal of authenticity,
Right.
proving that the transactions are all legit and they haven't been altered in any way.
Right.
But walk us through the actual steps, like the process of mining. What happens first?
So first, miners gather up recent Bitcoin transactions, kind of like collecting ingredients for a recipe.
Okay.
They make sure that those transactions are valid and haven't already been spent, so they're preventing like any double dipping.
Got to keep those Bitcoin bandits at bay.
Exactly.
What happens next?
Then comes the puzzle-solving frenzy. Miners use their specialized hardware to churn through trillions of calculations every second,
Wow.
trying to find that elusive hash. And it's a race against time. The faster the hardware, the better their chances of winning.
So I can only imagine the amount of computing power that's involved in this.
Oh.
So what happens when someone finally cracks the code? Do they just yell, like, Eureka, and collect their Bitcoin?
Pretty much, yeah. The miner who finds that solution broadcasts it to the entire network.
Right.
And other miners will quickly verify that the solution is correct.
Uh-huh.
And if it checks out, the block gets added to the blockchain, the winning miner receives their Bitcoin reward, and the whole process just starts all over again.
So it's like this never-ending cycle of puzzles, rewards, and digital security.
Right.
So we've talked about like the what and the how of mining, but now I'm curious about the who. Who are these miners? What kind of tech are they using?
Well, Bitcoin mining has come a long way since its early days. Way back in 2009, when Bitcoin was first launched, anyone could mine Bitcoin using their home computer.
Wait, seriously? My old laptop could have been a Bitcoin mining machine.
Technically, yes. Back then, people used their computer's central processing unit. It's called a CPU for mining. It worked, but it wasn't very efficient.
Oh, I'm guessing that's why we have these, like, super-powered mining rigs nowadays,
Oh,
right?
yeah, exactly. As more people started mining, the competition increased, and the network automatically adjusted the difficulty of the puzzles to keep that rate of block creation consistent.
Oh, wow.
So this meant that miners needed increasingly powerful hardware to stay competitive.
So it's like an arms race
Yeah,
for
exactly.
computing power. So what came after CPUs in this, like, evolution of mining hardware?
Okay, well, gamers might recognize this next step.
Yeah.
Around 2010, people discovered that graphics cards,
Uh-huh.
or GPUs, the same ones that make video games look so amazing, were actually much better at crunching the numbers needed for mining.
So gamers were ahead of the curve on this one. But I'm sensing this isn't the end of the hardware story.
You are right. As the competition in the mining world got, like, more intense, even GPUs weren't enough.
Wow.
And that's when ASICs entered the scene.
ASICs. Sounds pretty high-tech. Fill us in.
ASIC stands for Application-Specific Integrated Circuit. They're essentially microchips that are custom designed for a specific task, in this case, Bitcoin mining.
Oh, okay.
And they're way more powerful than GPUs. We're talking like orders of magnitude more efficient at solving those cryptographic puzzles.
So ASICs are the heavy hitters of the Bitcoin mining world.
Absolutely. They're the gold standard for miners that are serious about, competing and earning those Bitcoin rewards.
Okay, so we've gone from, like, everyday CPUs to super-powered ASICs. That's quite a journey.
It is, yeah.
But let's be honest. Most people are probably interested in, like, the bottom line. How do these miners actually make money from all this?
Yeah.
Is it just about those Bitcoin rewards that we've been talking about?
Well, it's a bit more nuanced than that. There are actually two primary ways that miners can earn income: block rewards and transaction fees.
Okay, let's break those down. We've already talked a little bit about block rewards.
So, every time a miner successfully adds a block to the blockchain, they receive a set amount of newly created Bitcoin. Currently, that reward is 6.25 Bitcoin. However, to control the supply of Bitcoin and prevent inflation, this reward gets cut in half roughly every 4 years.
Oh, wow.
We call this a halving.
So the rewards are constantly, like, shrinking.
Right.
When is the next halving event?
The next one is expected in 2024. So that 6.25 Bitcoin reward will drop down to 3.125 Bitcoin.
Wow, that's a significant drop.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned transaction fees, right? How do those work?
Okay, so think of it this way. When you make a Bitcoin transaction, you have the option to include a small fee. Miners will then prioritize transactions with higher fees because it means they'll earn more.
So it's like a tip to get your transaction processed faster.
Exactly.
So the users get the benefit of quicker transactions.
Yeah.
And the miners get to earn a little extra.
Right.
On top of the block rewards.
But, and this is a big BUT, mining profitability isn't always as simple as it might seem. There are a lot of factors at play.
Let's get into those nitty-gritty details.
Right.
What are some of the things that can impact a miner's bottom line?
Okay, so the price of Bitcoin itself is a major factor.
Okay.
The higher the price, the more valuable those Bitcoin rewards become. Then you also have to factor in the cost of electricity.
Yeah.
Mining consumes a crazy amount of energy.
Wow.
So having access to cheap electricity is crucial.
I can't imagine those electricity bills are very fun if you're running a huge mining operation.
No, not at all. And then there's the upfront cost of the mining hardware itself. We were talking about those powerful ASICs.
Yeah.
Those can cost, tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a significant investment.
So it's a bit of a you got to spend money to make money
Yeah.
situation, but with no guarantees.
Right.
So what other challenges do miners face in this ever-evolving landscape?
Okay, well, there's the network difficulty, which we talked about a little bit before. It constantly adjusts based on the total computing power, dedicated to mining. As more miners join the network, the puzzles get harder to solve. This increases competition and potentially squeezes profit margins, especially for individual miners.
Oh, wow.
And then there are geographical considerations, right? So some countries have cheaper electricity, and they also have friendlier regulations for mining, which gives them a big advantage.
So it's not just about having the best hardware. It's about navigating this really complex economic and regulatory landscape. So I'm curious, can anyone just, jump in and start mining on their own, or do you need to be part of some exclusive mining club?
Well, you can definitely go it alone, but the odds of winning a block reward solo are pretty slim these days, just given how intense the competition is.
Oh,
That's why a lot of miners choose to join mining pools.
mining pools. Tell me more. What's the benefit there?
It's all about teamwork, right,
Oh, okay.
in the
Yeah.
digital world.
Yeah.
So individual miners will pool their computing power together, and this increases their chances of finding that winning hash.
Uh-huh.
Then they share the rewards proportionally based on how much computing power they contribute.
Ah, so it's like a lottery syndicate, but for Bitcoin mining.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Sure.
But with all this talk about powerful computers and massive energy consumption,
Mhm.
it makes you wonder about the environmental impact,
Right.
of Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
Is it really as bad for the planet as some people say?
It's a really important question, and one that's been generating a lot of discussion. The truth is, Bitcoin mining does consume a significant amount of energy.
Just how much energy are we talking about? Put it into perspective for us.
Okay. So to give you an idea, some estimates put Bitcoin mining's annual energy consumption on par with that of some medium-sized countries.
Wow, that's a lot of power. No wonder there are environmental concerns.
Yeah. And it's a valid concern, for sure. But the good news is that there's a growing awareness of this issue. Within the Bitcoin community, a lot of effort is being directed towards making mining more sustainable.
That's good to hear. What are some of the ways people are trying to address this impact?
Well, one major focus is on developing more energy-efficient mining hardware. So, researchers are constantly working on creating chips that require less power, which would then decrease the network's overall energy footprint.
So like a greener ASIC.
Exactly. And there's also this big push towards using renewable energy sources for mining. So think like solar, wind, geothermal. These could potentially reduce Bitcoin's carbon footprint.
That's a very promising development.
Yeah.
What about all the heat generated by these powerful mining rigs? That
Yeah.
can't be good for the environment either, right?
You're right. So managing heat is a major challenge. And, traditional cooling systems often require a lot of energy. That's why there's research going into developing more sophisticated and energy-efficient cooling technologies specifically for these mining operations.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of work being done to address the environmental concerns.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at the bigger picture now. What does the future hold for Bitcoin mining?
Right.
Will it always be this energy intensive? Or are there other possibilities on the horizon?
Well, it's tough to predict the future, with absolute certainty, but some intriguing trends are emerging.
Give us a peek into your crystal ball. What might the future of Bitcoin mining look like?
Okay, so one possibility is the continued professionalization of the mining industry.
Uh-huh.
So we're seeing these large-scale mining operations become more common, often with substantial resources to
Right.
invest in the latest hardware, cooling systems, and energy solutions.
Okay.
We might even see consolidation in the industry.
Really?
Yeah, fewer but larger companies dominating the landscape.
So a bit of a big fish eats small fish scenario in the mining world?
Potentially, yeah. And another fascinating trend is the increasing involvement of institutional investors.
Oh, yeah.
So major banks, hedge funds, they're starting to dip their toes into the Bitcoin world,
Uh-huh.
which could have a significant impact on the mining industry.
It seems like the big players are finally starting to recognize the potential of Bitcoin. But with all these changes potentially on the horizon, what do you think the biggest challenges and opportunities will be for Bitcoin miners going forward?
Well, one of the biggest challenges will be staying ahead of the technological curve. Mining hardware is constantly evolving, which requires these continuous upgrades to remain competitive.
Right.
And this can be a significant financial hurdle, especially for smaller miners trying to, keep up with the big players.
This is this constant game of catch up in the tech world.
In a way, yeah. And then there's the ever-present challenge of navigating the regulatory landscape. Governments around the world are still trying to figure out, how to handle Bitcoin and, other cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
which can create a lot of uncertainty for miners. I mean, some countries have even banned mining altogether,
Right.
while others are, totally embracing it.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about navigating these political and legal complexities as well.
Exactly. But amidst these challenges, there are also some tremendous opportunities.
Like what? Give us some reasons for optimism in the world of Bitcoin mining.
Well, for one, the demand for Bitcoin is steadily growing.
Uh,
As more individuals and businesses adopt it, the number of transactions increases,
Right.
creating more opportunities for miners to earn those transaction fees. And as the price of Bitcoin continues to climb, the potential rewards for miners become even more enticing.
So it's still a potentially lucrative business, despite the challenges and uncertainties.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the incredible potential for innovation. We've already talked about, the development of more energy efficient hardware and that shift towards those renewable energy sources. Who knows what other groundbreaking advancements are just around the corner?
It's exciting to think about. So for our listeners that are, new to all this, what are some key takeaways they should keep in mind about Bitcoin mining?
Well, I think first and foremost, mining is the bedrock of the Bitcoin network.
Okay.
It ensures its security, its decentralization, and its overall integrity. It's
Yeah.
not just about generating that new Bitcoin. It's about maintaining the health and functionality of the whole ecosystem.
It's like the heartbeat that keeps Bitcoin alive and kicking.
Exactly. And while it can seem complex at first, the basic principles are, pretty straightforward. Miners verify transactions, they solve those complex cryptographic puzzles, and they get rewarded for their efforts. It's a beautiful system, really, when you consider how elegant its design is and the power of its decentralized nature.
It's an amazing blend of technology, economics, and human ingenuity. And while there are challenges like, energy consumption and those regulatory hurdles, there are also remarkable opportunities for innovation, growth, and even positive social impact.
I agree. It's a dynamic, evolving field. And it's fascinating to watch how it continues to shape the future of finance and technology.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here in this deep dive.
We have.
Exploring those technical intricacies of mining,
Yeah.
its economic and social implications. We've even talked about its potential impact on the environment. But before we move on, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
What thought-provoking question do you have for our audience?
Okay, well, we've talked about how Bitcoin mining is, constantly evolving with new technologies and approaches. So here's my question for our listeners. What do you think the next big breakthrough in Bitcoin mining will be?
Ooh, that's a great one.
I know, right?
Will it be even more energy-efficient hardware, capable of, running on a fraction of the power currently required? Or maybe a revolutionary new cooling system that, practically eliminates heat waste? Or maybe it will be something we haven't even, dreamed of yet.
Right.
A completely different approach to mining that redefines the possibilities of the technology.
It's really exciting to think about.
The possibilities are truly endless. And that's what makes this space so incredibly exciting. The future of Bitcoin mining is still being written, and we all have a role to play in shaping it. But we'll save that thought-provoking discussion for later. We've got much more to unpack in our deep dive. Stick with us.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
It really is amazing to think how far Bitcoin mining has come, in such a short time.
It really has.
From those early days, mining on home computers to
Yeah.
those massive specialized operations we see today, it's been quite a journey.
It makes you wonder, what does all of this mean for, the average person? Why should someone, who's not a tech expert or a cryptocurrency enthusiast care about Bitcoin mining at all?
Right.
What's the relevance to their, everyday life?
That's a great question. And it's one that, I think about a lot. I mean, Bitcoin mining might seem like this niche technical thing,
Yeah.
but it actually has ripple effects that extend way beyond, the world of cryptocurrency.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Give us some examples. How does Bitcoin mining touch our lives, even if we're not directly, involved in it?
Well, for starters, it plays a role in the global economy. As more businesses and individuals around the world adopt Bitcoin, the demand for mining increases. And this, in turn, drives investment, innovation in the tech sector, creating jobs, boosting economic growth.
So it's a catalyst for technological advancement and economic activity.
Yes.
Even beyond the realm of Bitcoin itself.
Precisely. And it goes, deeper than that.
Okay.
Bitcoin mining has the potential to promote financial inclusion, especially in developing countries where, people have limited access to traditional banking services.
That's a really powerful point. So it's not just about, making money for miners. It's about empowering people.
Right.
And creating a more equitable financial system.
Yeah.
On a global scale.
Exactly. And let's not forget the potential for Bitcoin mining to, drive those sustainability initiatives.
Right.
Like we talked about earlier, there's that push towards using renewable energy sources like solar, wind, geothermal.
Yeah.
If this trend continues, I mean, Bitcoin mining could actually become a force for good
Wow.
in the fight against climate change.
So instead of being this like drain on the environment, it could actually incentivize the development and adoption of clean energy solutions.
Yeah.
That's a pretty exciting prospect.
It is. Of course, there are still challenges to overcome, and, we need to be realistic about the potential downsides.
Right.
But I think it's important to recognize the positive possibilities, too.
Absolutely. It's all about like weighing those costs and the benefits and finding ways to, mitigate the negative impacts while also maximizing the positive ones.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears for a moment and get a little philosophical.
Okay.
What does the rise of Bitcoin mining say about, our relationship with technology and money?
That's a really fascinating question.
Yeah.
I think it reflects this growing desire for, decentralization and greater control over our own, personal finances. People are increasingly skeptical of those traditional institutions,
Right.
whether they're, banks, governments, large corporations.
Right.
They're looking for alternative systems that are more transparent, accountable, and resistant to, corruption or manipulation.
So it's a bit of a rebellion against the established order.
Yeah.
A push for a more democratic and equitable financial system.
You could definitely say that. And, it's also this testament to the incredible power of human ingenuity. I mean, Bitcoin and, the underlying concept of blockchain technology were born out of a desire to create a better system.
Wow.
One that empowers individuals
Right.
and promotes, financial freedom. It's amazing to witness how this technology has evolved and gained traction in such a short amount of time.
It's truly a testament to the disruptive power of ideas
Right.
and the potential of technology to, reshape the world that we live in.
Yeah.
But as with any revolution, there are bound to be some bumps along the way, right?
Yeah, of course.
Challenges, uncertainties
Yeah.
that need to be, addressed.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about some of those key challenges facing Bitcoin mining, like the environmental impact, those regulatory hurdles, the